Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling something I know we all struggle with, and we're going to demystify exactly how raw, fleeting information is captured and totally transformed into permanent, actionable knowledge. Whether you're just trying to remember what you read yesterday, or you're literally trying to architect a massive corporate database, the underlying mechanics of how we retain knowledge are absolutely fascinating.
So, let's just get right into it, shall we? Here is the fundamental question. We all face this modern crisis of information overload. You read amazing articles, you listen to hours of audio, you consume massive amounts of data, and yet we constantly struggle to actually retain and use it. How do we take a passing thought or a really useful fact and cement it into something we can build upon for years to come?
To give you an idea of what's possible, look at this staggering number, 64,274. That's not a typo. That is the exact number of links connecting roughly 8,000 notes in a single personal knowledge management system built by a developer named Sébastien Dubois. It represents years of reading, thinking, and synthesizing. It absolutely proves that highly scalable, deeply connected personal knowledge systems are entirely possible, if you build them right. To help you build your own incredibly reliable second brain, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the architecture of thought, move through capturing data and building permanent notes, and then look at the power of connection before scaling it all the way up to the enterprise level. Finally, we'll talk about building your ultimate system.
All right, part one, the architecture of thought. Let's look at how our brains actually structure memory.
Zooming way into the microscopic level of cognitive psychology, back in 1974, a brilliant guy named Marvin Minsky proposed this idea. He said that when we encounter a new situation, our brain instantly selects a frame. Think of a frame as a remembered framework that we just adapt to fit our current reality by tweaking a few specific details. Like you walk into a child's birthday party and boom, your brain loads up the birthday party frame. You expect a cake, you expect screaming kids, you expect presents. When reality differs from that frame, you just tweak the details. That is literally how the brain categorizes fleeting experiences into structured memory.
Minsky actually wrote something super vital here. He said, finding a useful memory needs the same sorts of strategies used in other kinds of thinking. I love this because it completely bridges the gap between passive memory and active problem solving. We tend to think of memory as this dusty filing cabinet we just passively open. But Minsky shows us that retrieving knowledge, that's an active strategy. We actually have to build the pathways to find it. To explain this, he used a really brilliant geographic metaphor to describe how we build these active pathways. Imagine your thoughts are houses. We don't build a private, direct driveway from every single house to every other house in the world, right? That would be complete chaos. Instead, we place houses on a block. They share streets, and those streets connect to major highways, which then connect to large conceptual cities. Knowledge only becomes truly permanent when it's mapped onto these logical, hierarchical routes.
Moving on to step 2, capturing the raw data, or, as I like to call it, building the funnel.
If we want to replicate that natural framing our brains do, we really need a digital funnel. Dubois uses this exact knowledge funnel to move information from his RSS feeds and reading apps all the way down into his permanent system. The process goes like this. You explore wildly, curate strictly, consume intentionally, capture only what matters, distill it into your own words, and finally connect it to your existing cities of knowledge. This intentional funnel acts as a filter, cutting out all that digital clutter and ensuring only the highest value information makes the cut.
Now, drawing heavily from the famous Zettel-Kasten method, which I'm sure some of you are already playing around with, Dubois highlights a really crucial distinction in this distillation process, the difference between literature notes and permanent notes. Literature notes are third-party ideas. It's the author's insights processed by you. Permanent notes, on the other hand, are your own refined personal ideas. By strictly separating the ideas of others from your own synthesized thoughts, you maintain intellectual integrity and just incredible clarity. Your own thoughts don't get lost in a massive sea of highlighted book quotes.
Okay, section 3. Let's talk about building those permanent notes and laying down the technical foundation. Listen, if you are going to spend literally years building this glorious knowledge city, the foundation better be rock solid. And the answer from the developer community is resounding here. You got to use plain text Markdown. Why? Well, because it's completely future-proof. By converting everything into basic text files, you completely remove the baggage of proprietary software. You don't have to worry about your trendy note-taking app going bust in 5 years and taking your second brain with it. Plus, plain text integrates seamlessly with version control systems like Git, and it is incredibly easy for modern AI tools to read and process. It's a total game changer.
Just look at these analytics, straight from Dubois's actual database. It reveals a fascinating hierarchy. Standard book notes average about 5 links. published articles average around 6. But his maps of content, which are basically high-level index notes, average over 90 links. These act as massive, super-connected hubs for ideas. It totally proves that the value of a permanent note isn't just the text written on it. It's all about the relationships it forms.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 4, the power of connection and how we actually link it all together.
To really grasp connectivity, we can actually borrow a concept from math called category theory. Now, stay with me, I know it sounds super abstract, but category theory is essentially the ultimate mathematical toolkit for composition. It models objects and the arrows or functions that connect them while preserving their structure. Whether you're programming robots or designing software, category theory shows us how simple independent components can be wired together reliably into highly complex systems. Sound familiar? It's exactly what we're doing when we link our simple text notes together.
We see this exact same principle playing out in systems engineering too. In requirements engineering, there's this thing called traceability, basically linking system requirements back to their original source documentation. Research shows a huge contrast in how people use this. Low-end providers, they just create links because they're told to. They check the box. But the high-end end users use these links obsessively to drive improvements. They get that the real gold, the true value of data, lies in understanding its history and its connected relationships.
All right, Section 5, scaling knowledge like Legos. Let's zoom way out to the enterprise level.
So zooming out from our personal notes, how do massive organizations handle this? Well, a white paper by Infosys describes the future of digital landscapes as the composable enterprise, or basically a Lego brick enterprise. And it starts right at the business layer. Instead of a monolithic, rigid corporate structure, businesses are actually architecting themselves by breaking down into fully autonomous, easily replaceable business capabilities. And that Lego philosophy, it goes all the way down the tech stack. Just like atomic notes in a personal database, enterprise data and applications must be modular. Organizations are utilizing composable data pipelines and micro front-ends at the application layer. The beauty of this is, if one single piece breaks, or some shiny new tech emerges, you don't burn the whole system to the ground. You just snap out that specific Lego brick and snap a new one in.
The ultimate end result of all this crazy modularity is a hyper-personalized customer interface. Take this online supermarket app, for example. This isn't one giant, hard-coded piece of software. It's actually composed dynamically, right on the fly, assembling various independent digital building blocks, grabbing inventory data here, user preferences there, a pricing engine over there, into a seamless experience. It's the ultimate expression of connected knowledge, just scaled up to the enterprise level.
Finally, Section 6. Let's bring this all home to your ultimate knowledge system and how to put it into practice.
Bringing all of this back down to earth and your daily productivity, let's look at this timeline. It really doesn't matter if we're talking about the split-second milliseconds it takes your brain to select a memory frame, or the days you spend funneling raw data into literature notes, or the months linking your plain text permanent notes, all the way to multi-year enterprise transformations. The entire evolutionary path of knowledge relies 100% on modularity and connection. You isolate the core idea, and then you link it to the whole.
So if you're ready to build your own bulletproof system, here are the major takeaways for you. First, automate your templates and your filing to reduce friction. You want to focus on thinking, not sorting. Second, centralize everything into a single source of truth. Third, keep your notes atomic. Remember, one note equals one idea. It makes reusing them a breeze later on. And finally, rely on flat folder structures, using dense tags and links rather than burying your amazing thoughts in deep, rigid folder hierarchies.
To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative question to chew on. If your daily thoughts were literally modular Lego bricks, what kind of conceptual city could you build by deliberately linking them together over the next 5 years? Seriously, start treating those passing, fleeting thoughts as permanent composable components today. You might just be absolutely blown away by the architecture of knowledge you eventually create. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I will catch you in the next one.